You are listening to the Marc Guzman Podcast Experience.
Okay, so now we get to the property analysis. So Brian, we're going to analyze a building in Oakland. You said it's 7 units. So let's get into this. What are we analyzing here?
So we're looking at a 7-unit building in Oakland. It's currently on the market, and the property is comprised of 7 2-bedroom, 1-bath units. Now, the property advertises itself as a 6.75 cap rate, which is actually really, really good because, as I've mentioned in many prior shows, so long as a landlord is in a position to be able to buy at a 5.5 to 6 cap, but has a clear view in sight of being able to, just through regular rental increases, that it would go 5 to 10% a year, right? Nothing greater than 10%. And they can begin to increase their cap rate or their return from a 5.5 to a 6.5 or a 7, then these are good investments. Now, this one says very specifically that it's at a 6.75 cap. Now, I've only gone through a very cursory analysis of this property. And one of the things that I began to look at after I pulled the current property taxes, looked at the ad valorem rate, its current assessments and bonds, and began to create what I believe would be the regular fixed expenses.
Now, real quick, sorry to interrupt, but I think a lot of people don't know how to look up the current taxes and any bonds and assessments. And I think we should just kind of clarify that.
Yeah, in fact, we should probably have just another segment on our class next time.
But just to keep it short, if you go to the county's website,
and it's different for each county, Contra Costa, Alameda, Solano,
you want to go to the county's tax assessor's website or the tax collector. Some counties will have it a little bit different setup, but you basically want to, let's say this property's in Oakland, so it's Alameda County. If you just go into Google and type in Alameda County tax collector bill lookup, that will usually link you to the correct page on the first or second link. You go there, type in the property address or the APN number if you have it, and then you'll be able to pull up a copy of the bill to get these numbers.
Now, going off of that, the main reason why I was focusing on that is because I wanted to, there was a lot of unknowns about this property, and there's still a couple of questions. And so I'll kind of bring these out to you because these are all different things that, as an investor, you want to be able to immediately know. And if you don't know, you want to know what you need to ask. And so the property advertised itself as a 6.75 cap rate. Now, when I did my own evaluation of expenses, the actual cap rate based on its purchase price is closer to 4.28. Now, there's a huge difference between 4.28 and 6.75. So I'm just kind of giving the realtor the benefit of the doubt, and I'm looking at it, and maybe he's going off of what the projected rents would be or what fair market rents would be. Because when I look at the actual rents that are displayed in CoStar, for example, the building itself only has an income of $8,547 a month or $102,000 a year. It's got an asking price of $1,385,000. And so when you run these new expenses based on that, and I'm running them at roughly 39% of the current income, then you're only getting a net operating income of roughly $59,000 a year over an asking price of $1,385,000, which is a 4.28% return, not a 6.75. The other big thing, a big red flag that came out was it advertised that the property did not have rent control. So this is something I have to investigate further because the property age was 1963. And for those of you who don't know, properties built after 1984 are ones that are exempt from rent control.
And they were advertising this building as non-rent control?
Yes, there's no rent control. So, again, I put in some calls and, was looking into it a little bit more just to vet out whether these claims were true or not. Now, if that was the case and you went right up to market rent, then the property could go to a 6.68 cap, right? Meaning you would begin to increase your net operating income. This is the income before you make a mortgage payment, from $59,000 to $92,000. And if you superimpose $92,000 over a $1,385,000 purchase price, still using roughly those same expenses of 39% a year, then you're getting closer to a 6.68% return on your money. And so the property is worth further investigation. It is in Oakland, where the rents the market rents are much higher because of its close proximity to jobs and things of this nature. The area itself, was marginal. It's a C-class neighborhood. But again, these are things you want to look for when you're looking at property to determine whether or not to take that next step to ask for more information. The property itself is.
Excuse me. Did the listing agent ever get back to you on that advertising the building as non-rent control?
They did, but it was information. The answer, I wasn't satisfied with the answer. So, like I said, I'll look into it myself a little bit more. In fact, I was going to ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah, that's just a huge red flag for me, because if the listing agent is advertising no rent control in a building that does have rent control, then they give you a very BS answer, something that isn't clear cut, then that really brings into question everything else that they're advertising.
Well, at any point in time that you're looking at any type of real estate investment, you should always bring everything into some level of questioning and do your own underwriting. Never take at face value their expenses. There's certain rules of thumb, like if a property is newer, then you could probably run, and you're running it very efficiently, then you're maybe between 28 to 30% of your gross income or effective income as your expenses. But when you have a 1963 building, no real major renovations that I saw of note or capital improvements, you want to run it closer to 35, 38, 39, 40% of effective income towards expenses. And so when you do that, then the net operating income, of course, drops. And that's the main denominator that you're going to be using to determine what your actual return on your money is based on what you buy it for. So again, the property, it looks like it has a lot of potential, because in the event that, well, a couple of things. Here's a couple of other effects of cap rate. Is if you are buying something at a 6 cap, then the higher the cap, the lower the price. So if it advertises itself at a 6.75 cap, and we're going to just use the nice happy medium of 6, and you use the expenses that I use, then the building is only worth $988,000, because in order for me to make a 6% return with an income of only $59,000 a year, I have to buy it for $988,000, not $1,385,000, which is its asking price.
Now, I know one question that some people may have is, well, how do you determine the rents you can increase every single year? Now, for prior rent increases, City of Oakland has a really, really great calculator form that you can download right off their website. You input basically the base rent price, when you want to increase rent. They have a great calculator, and it tells you exactly. And so
I was just going to say, when I ask that question, I have my certain baseline expectations, but then I will more defer to someone like yourself who's got the expertise in specific areas and as to what you can actually raise the rent to. So just segueing off of what you said, the current rent being $8,547 from what was advertised a month, and I'm projecting that the rent should be closer to $11,623, you see a 26.471% loss to lease, right? So right off the bat, when you know that Oakland in general has rent control, and you can't exceed, I think it's 2.85 or 2.95 a year in rent control. Now, there are some times where you can go a little bit more if you can show that you've spent a certain amount in capital improvements. You can
There is a moratorium on that right now.
Right, yeah. But there is a moratorium, but Marc was alluding to certain calculations that allow you to get a little bit more than the 2.85 or 2.95.
So basically banking rents. So that's one thing where in the due diligence, you want to get copies of the lease agreements, but I find that many buyers will get copies of the lease agreements, briefly look them over, and file them away. You really need to go through them and input these figures into the City of Oakland form. It's a great, awesome form that they've created, because if you realize that you have banked rents, then that's usually when you can come in and do higher rent increases than the CPI.
To put things in perspective, if you take all those various components and you look at a building like this, and this is why I said earlier it requires more investigation, is that if you can get away with increasing the rents closer to that 26% loss to lease, the difference from what it should be and what you're actually getting, whether it's through tenants moving out on their own or through banked rents, which are currently under moratorium, then by simply being able to raise the rents from $8,547 a month to roughly $11,623 a month, you increase the value about $100 to $157,000. So in other words, the value of the property, if I were to buy it at a 6 cap, would now increase from $1,385,000 to $1,542,000, roughly $157,000 of capital gain, unrealized capital gain, just from increasing the net operating income from $59,000 to $92,000 a year.
So this is literally what we do every single day with our clients. And so if you're interested, contact us. We would love to hear from you, simply just on feedback on the show. But if you have a building or you're thinking about buying a building, reach out to us. We can help you. We can guide you and give you our opinion and take on an investment property.
Yeah, and don't forget, our goal is not only to help you analyze these things properly like a smart investor, but it's also to make your laundry experience a lot better. So when you're at home doing your laundry, this is all supposed to make that a lot more relaxing.
And thank you again to East Brother Beer Company for being the show's sponsor. And we will catch you on next week's episode of Keeping It Realty.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lemon. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at marcguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.